Welcome once again to Yerushalayim. This evening, before we actually get into our discussion of the Seder this week, I wanted to share with you a story. A number of years ago, before I was married, I would go to a particular morning minyan in our neighborhood, and every single morning on my way to shul, it would never fail that I would run into one of my neighbors on her way to work. Her name was Linda, and every single morning it became my routine to try to get to the door a few minutes before Linda in order that I could help her on her way to work, help her out of the building. You see, Linda would always be walking with her constant companion, Lester. Lester was her seeing eye daughter. Linda, every single morning, was fiercely independent and would leave the house at about 6:15 in the morning and take 4 or 5 different buses in order to get to work because she was so determined to not be dependent on anyone else to be able to help her get to work. So it would be my constant effort. I'm not such a morning person. It would be my constant struggle every single morning to try to get to the door in time in order to be able to help Linda get out the door, Linda and Lester get out the door. And every single morning, it would never fail. I would come to the door and I'd see Linda kind of struggling down the hallway. And I'd say to Linda, "Good morning, Linda." And as soon as she would hear me, she would turn towards me. I mean, she couldn't really necessarily see where I was actually standing, but she would turn towards me and say these words: "Good morning, Sam. It's so nice to see you." So what does it really mean to see? What do we do with that story? What do we do with someone who uses an expression that we think means to actually see physically what's in front of us to connote something different? What does it really mean to see? So with that as our backdrop, I actually want to take a look for a few moments at the 8th of the 10 plagues. In Parshat Bo, really we read the conclusion of the 10 plagues. And this evening I just want to spend a moment or two focusing on the 8th of those 10 plagues, and that is the Makkah of Choshech, the plague of darkness. The Torah tells us, "Vayomer Hashem Moshe netei yadcha et al hashamayim v'hi choshech al eretz Yisrael." Hashem speaks to Moses and says, "Extend your hand to the heavens, and there will be darkness that will come upon Mitzrayim. Vayamesh choshech, and the darkness will be incredibly dark. Lo ra'u ish et achiv," the Torah continues. A person will not be able to see their brother. No one will be able to see one another. But ultimately, the Torah tells us, "U'lecho b'nei Yisrael haya or b'moshvatam." But for every single member of the Jewish people, there will be light in their dwellings. So the question to be asked is, what does it mean that there was a darkness that descended upon Mitzrayim? And more than this, that the darkness was incredibly dark. This vayamesh choshech, that it became densely dark. So Rashi explains, "Vayachshich aleim choshech yoter michashchosh halayla." It became so dark during the daytime that it was even darker than at night. At nighttime, think about this, when we go to sleep, at nighttime, there are lights around in the world. Even if we turn off all the lights in our house, there are the stars in the sky, there's the moon in the sky. But when the Choshech fell upon Mitzrayim, it was complete darkness, total and utter darkness. Yet the Torah tells us, for the Jewish people, they had light. What does it mean that the Jewish people had light? And why would this Makkah, famous question to be asked, why would this particular plague, compared to all the other plagues, does the Torah stipulate that the Jewish people actually had light? We know that for all the plagues, that the plagues only befell the Mitzrayim, the Egyptians themselves. Why here, when it comes to the Makkah of Choshech, the plague of darkness, does the Torah specifically stipulate that the Jewish people actually had light? So I saw a beautiful answer to this and a beautiful teaching from one of the earliest of the Hasidic masters, the Tola Yaakov Yosef, Rav Yaakov Yosef HaKohen of Polnoi, one of the earliest Hasidic masters, the prime disciple of Baal Shem Tov. And he says something interesting. He asked the question, why does Hashem first instruct Moshe, "Netei yadcha al shamayim," extend your hand towards Shemayim, towards the heavens? Now listen to the words of the Tolos Yaakov Yosef. He says, "Kidei lahamshich lamata devar muchanim kamo Torah tefillah." What was Hashem saying to Moshe Rabbeinu? extend your hand towards Shemayim, bring the spiritual down to this world. Bring into this world symbolically the things that are going to sustain you through this period of darkness. Bring down to this world Dvar Muchanim, things of spirituality, things that are going to sustain the Jewish people amidst this darkness, like Torah and Tefillah. Even though there was complete darkness that descended upon all of Egypt, the Jewish people had light in all their dwelling places. The Rebbe explains that the actual Metziut, the actual reality, was the absolute same. For the Egyptians, it was completely dark. But for the Jewish people, they had light. It wasn't that they had electricity or kerosene in their homes that kept their homes lit amidst the darkness, says the Rebbe. It's all a matter of perspective. The Egyptians looked at the world and saw it blanketed in darkness. But the Jewish people, because they had the light of spirituality, the light of divinity within their midst and within themselves, they saw the world through the lens of light, not through the lens of darkness. And this is a very, very powerful mussar for all of us. One can look out at the world and see only darkness and lose all hope and all sense of faith and perspective, or one can look at the world through the lens of Torah and Tefillah, and Dvar Muchanim, as the Rebbe says, and be strengthened to know that even though it looks kind of dark and bleak, we can bring light to the world through those Dvar Muchanim, through those things of spirituality. And ultimately that is the role of Am Yisrael in the entire world, to be an Or LaGoyim, to be a sense of morality, of light, of the awareness of God for the entire world. May we all be blessed to take to heart this message inherent in the 8th of the 10 plagues, and that we should always have the perspective that no matter how dark things may seem, that we have light in all our dwelling places. Shabbat Shalom.